on average, just in the United States, about 220 people die every single day from an opiate overdose. And by the time we finish this show, 8 to 10 people are going to die from an opiate overdose. If we get even one person, one viewer with this program that we might be able to help with some of the information that's shared on here, then it's all worth it. Well, hey everyone, good afternoon. It's your old pal Glenn Victor. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. I'm back. He's back. Back here in the studio in Sacramento after a week hiatus down to South California. We were down there in South LA and Hollywood. We appreciate y'all tuning in today. We're back, and we want to bring our producer, Dean, right into the show. My co-host and producer, Dean, from Orlando, Florida. Dean, there you are. Hey, I don't know if you got my private message here, Dean, but I don't think we're live on my personal FB yet.
Working on that right now. Working on that right now, and looks like everybody came in. So
okay, great. I just thought I'd let you know. I put it in the private chat, but just wanted to get that in there right out of the gate. I'm still not seeing it, and that's the one that I get the most feedback from people telling me, where you at? So not sure what's happening there. But anyways, we'll get it worked out, y'all. So we got a great show lined up for you today. We have not one, but two featured guests today. I'm so excited about this. My own son, G Money, as we like to call him, is going to be on the show. He'll be coming up in a little bit. Also, my soul brother and soulmate, Shebang. So we're nationwide today, by the way. I'm coming to you from Sacramento, California. Dean is in Orlando, Florida. G Money is in Miami, Florida. And Shebang is from Detroit, Michigan. So we got a great show coming up. And I'll be bringing them guys into the podcast here real soon. They'll be coming on in about 15 minutes or so. But, I got to run my mouth for a little while here, too, first. I still don't see us on there, Dean, just so you know. I'm not sure what's happening. What's going on with that, bro?
It's
there
live.
it is.
There it is.
Looks like it's on a delay, though. No, there we are. We are live now on the personal Facebook page. So, we're still getting some kinks worked out on that whole thing. But anyway, I'm glad to see we're on there. So, hey, welcome, everybody. I see we got some viewers already watching us live. And just want to say to our viewers who are checking in live, you're welcome to join the conversation. You can join in on the chat. We'll provide a link if you want to come on live on camera where we can see you and talk to you. That's fine. Or we can even have you call in. We'll provide the number later in the show. But so anyways, we wanted to do a little recap of the past week. And, there's been a lot of cool stuff going on with current events and things to that nature that we're going to talk about. But I wanted to just start off by recapping, what the purpose of this whole show is. That name, Dare Me, and the acronym, drugs, addiction, recovery, enlightenment, music, exercise. What's that all about? This is our 6th episode of this podcast, and so I've told my story and a lot of history in the first 5, but I got to keep doing it each time we do the show, at least a little bit on the front end, in case somebody comes across this particular edition of the show for the very first time. So this show is really geared toward trying to help people that are hooked on opiates, addicted to opiate medication or opiates, or really any kind of drug. What prompted me to do it, though, is I became addicted to opiates. I was on a 9-year addiction to opiates, y'all. It all started with opiate medication when I broke my ankle. Long history and story there, over 9 years, as you can imagine. Lots of war stories that I'll touch on from time to time. But that's what prompted me to start this podcast, is to try to help others that might be going through that, looking for a way out. Because when I was trying to kick my opiate addiction, I looked for a lot of information online, and I came across some good stuff that we talked about and shared about on previous episodes, and we'll talk more about as we go. Didn't find anything like what we're doing on this show. And so, my hope, as I've said many times on here, is if we can help even one person with some of the information we share and talk about on this show, then it's all worth it. And so, yeah, put myself right out there, y'all. The whole recover out loud philosophy. We talk about anonymous programs on this show. We're not representatives of any 12-step program at all, but we talk about them, I'm definitely a 12-step guy. I'm no representative. I'm just another guy trying to stay clean and stay alive another day. And that's just one little tool in my basket that I use to help myself stay clean and stay alive. All the other acronyms across the top of the screen and played a big part and a big role in my recovery from addiction as well. And we're going to talk about them. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about our two guests today, because in the first 5 episodes of this show, we haven't really talked at all about enlightenment or exercise. We spent a lot of time talking about drugs, addiction, recovery, music, things to that nature. And we're going to talk about all of them again today, but we haven't really spent any time talking about enlightenment and exercise, and we are today. We got 2 guests, and I'll be sharing part of my story when we talk about all that too. So that's kind of a recap of the purpose of this show. If you're a person going through opiate addiction, trying to find a way out, getting that anxiety about going through the withdrawals that are horrible. Believe me, I promise you, you can do it. You can fucking do it. If I could do it, anybody can do it, and we'll give you tips on this show. We ain't no medical experts. We say that every time. We don't want nobody getting the wrong idea. No medical experts on this show. I will say this is a topic I do feel like I'm an expert on. I won't tell you what to do. I won't tell you what not to do. All I can do is share my experience, what I went through, the things I tried that worked for me to help get me through it that may work for you. Hopefully, at the very least, give someone some hope that if you want to kick, you can fucking do it. You can do it. And so, anyways, that's the purpose of the show. And so we hope if you find this program, you stick with us. Check out previous episodes, stick with us on this one. If you're watching us live, we appreciate you tuning in. If you happen to come across the recorded version after we finish going live, please stick with us. And we love to get your feedback, too. So, again, that's a recap of the purpose of the show. We like to do shout-outs every week, so I got to do a couple shout-outs. I want to do a couple shout-outs to some friends I've made here in Sacramento. A couple of people I just know kind of casually. Leslie and Marty celebrated 10 years clean this past week. So, hey, congratulations to the both of y'all. Also, want to send a shout out to my buddies from Moving Forward Music, Tyler Olam and Josh Biddart. They backed up for Tech 9 at the Ace of Spades Club here in Sacramento. I was talking to G and Shebang about it this week, man. Tech 9, he's like a fucking legend, one of the most famous speed rappers. And I wanted to go down and see them so bad, but I had just gotten back from South Cali and it just didn't work out with my schedule. So anyway, wanted to send some shout outs to them. I've talked about Tyler in previous episodes of the show. Him and I had a conference call with that boy Kasky, who some of y'all know I'm a big fan of, and gotten to be a little bit of a buddy of. And anyway, Kasky, he promised Tyler that him and Josh could warm up for him when he comes back out to do some shows in Cali. So, hey, we're going to hold him to that, Tyler, if you see this, bro. So anyway, shout outs to y'all. Also wanted to talk about some current events. How about that boy, Marshall? Marshall Mathers, Eminem celebrated 15 years clean this past week. 15 years. I gotta say, I sent Dean, you know this. I sent you a shit ton of pictures this week, of all kinds of different stuff. That I thought you may or may not want to use on the show. When I'm talking about different things. And so, like I told you before we started today, if you get them on, great. If you don't stress and worry, because I really did overwhelm. I sent a shit ton of them. But I just want to give a friendly reminder. I think one or two of the pics I did send were of Eminem, celebrating his 15 years clean this past week, which is a huge fucking deal for those of us in the recovery community. And of course, people know he put out that album, the recovery album with Not Afraid and all that. I mean, such an inspiration to so many people with the positive message in his music. So we just wanted to send a big shout out to that boy from Detroit City, my hometown boy. And hey, I've said it on this show before, man. If you ever see this, bro, we'd love to have. There you go. Yeah, thank you, Dean, for getting that up there, man. We would love to have you on the show. To talk about living clean, man. Some people might think that's a pipe dream, but I say the old saying, I love it, man. Aim high, soaring, aim low, boring. And there's a little connection there because we're both from Detroit City and music people and all. So who knows, man? You never know when the word might get down the line to somebody. We'd love to have that boy on the show to talk about living clean and recovery and shit. And so anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Then on a sad note, having to do with addiction as well, current event this past week. Man, I posted something about it too, It's so fucking sad. 7 years since Prince died of an accidental opiate overdose. Fucking crazy, man. The dude got some fentanyl laced pills. Yeah, there you go. And this picture, I'm glad you brought this one up, Dean, because it fucking blows my mind. And I want to assure everybody, this is not meant in any fucking disrespectful way. I loved Prince, loved him. Have some stories out there that I've told about, shows I went to. Got in a big fight, once about being a Prince fan and all that. But this particular picture of him walking there is a picture that was taken just right before he died, where he's like walking around in a Walgreens parking lot. Yeah, there's a picture of him on his bicycle in the Walgreens parking lot. And the thing is if you know the history of that whole story and what happened with Prince, it's fucking so bizarre. He was getting scripts. Yeah, there's TMZ was the one that got the shots of them. This is right before he died. And, the point I'm making is, we talked about this on this show before. You just never know. People put on appearances. We did that whole Casey Kasem radio thing a few weeks ago where he lost it and, went on a rant. And so the point I'm making is, we all had this image of Prince as this rock star guy, which he was, yet the fucking opiates had him so fucking bad. The dude was fiending in a Walgreens parking lot. And for those of us that have gone through opiate addiction, you've been there. If you've had a serious opiate addiction, you know exactly what the fuck was going on. And it was proven afterwards through the investigations. He had bogus scripts under different names and different doctors writing him shit. But the point I'm making is, for those of us that had connects, yeah, there were times waiting in a Walgreens parking lot for your plug to go get their shit because it was the day they were getting their re-up, and you were either getting paid back the ones you loaned them or else they were flipping theirs and you were there fucking dope sick waiting for them in the goddamn Walgreens parking lot. That's what them pics remind me of, because been there, done that. If you're hooked on fucking opiates, and you have been for a while, I know you have too. And it broke my fucking heart. It still breaks my heart when I see that picture of fucking Prince, of all people, dope fiending in a Walgreens parking lot just a couple days before he died. And I just want to say again, folks, I am not talking about this in any disrespectful way. God bless the man, he was struggling, if you know that whole story, they had an emergency landing. He did a show in Atlanta just like a week before he died, and they had to fucking have an emergency landing, and he got Narcaned, and they brought him back to life, and less than a week later, he died right in his own crib of a fucking opiate overdose. So, yeah, man, it just goes to show, God bless fucking Marshall Mathers got clean, man. Thank God. Such an inspiration to everybody. And Prince was trying. He had an appointment, and a doctor was coming to see him, and they were going to try to help him kick and all that shit. He tried, man. He was fucking ready to try, but just didn't happen for him, and then he got them bullshit pills, which I had actually sent you a pic, Dean. I don't know if you saw it, and, it's kind of fucked up pic to look at, but the police investigators actually released a picture of the fucking pills he had that were phony, that were on like a nightstand in his crib. Anyway, yeah. So, anyways, man, God bless the man. May he rest in peace, But it just goes to show, man, this opiate thing ain't no fucking joke. And so let's go into, it hasn't gotten any better. That was 7 years ago when Prince fucking died from an OD, and it just keeps getting worse. So let's talk about some more current events. Just this past week, it fucking blows my mind. In the state of California, Governor Newsom has secured an agreement with the National Guard. Yeah, look at this. There's a graphic that Dean, I sent a picture of. They're bringing in the fucking National Guard to try to disrupt, as they're calling it, not even try to stop, but I'm sure they're trying to stop, but to disrupt fentanyl trafficking in San Fran. It's like this shit is out of fucking control, man. They got to bring in the National Guard, and, they're bringing in other agencies, CHP and whatnot, But I just want to stress y'all, this was just a couple days ago that, they published this information. So if you think this opiate epidemic is getting better, you are badly mistaken. It's fucking still out of control to the point where the governor here in California, and I ain't getting into politics, this ain't got nothing to do with whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a liberal, conservative, whatever the fuck, it doesn't fucking matter to me. I ain't getting into all that. All I'm saying is this shit is at a level where the governor of a state is calling in the National Guard saying, hello, we need help here. The fucking fentanyl shit is out of control on the streets of San Fran. So, yeah, man. Pretty fucking bizarre. So let's talk about another thing that happened this past week. There's always shit going on, current events having to do with this stuff in the news, but another story that really caught my eye, and it is unique. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I'm kind of on the fence. In Seattle, they've introduced a new program where they're offering gift cards to people if they stay clean. And you can see Dean's got up a graphic again here. I appreciate it, Dean. Fucking $300 gift card if people successfully complete a treatment program. And then if they keep coming back and test negative for drug use, I think it's like once a week or whatever the fuck, then they keep giving them a gift card. And of course, some people are saying, man, this is fucking bullshit. We're trying to fucking, pay people to stay clean or whatever. And then you got other people saying, hey, man, it's something different. We never tried it before. We got to do something, So, I got to say, and I'll be curious when I talk with Shebang in a second here what his opinion on it is on it. I'm of the feeling that, and this is just my personal experience, unless you really want to fucking get clean and you want it, it ain't going to happen. You can't do it for the courts. You can't do it for your old lady, for your old man, for your kids, for your job. You got to really fucking want to do it. You got to want to do it for yourself. And so I can't imagine. I know goddamn well I wouldn't have got clean for no $300 fucking gift card, I mean, it would have been nice maybe to get one, but that ain't no incentive for me to get and stay clean. But hey, that's me. if it works for somebody else, so be it. The point of me wanting to bring that story up today, though, is this is the fucking level we're at. Some cities now, calling in the National Guard to help with fentanyl trafficking. Another city offering $300 gift cards to people. Please just stay clean and we'll give you a $300 gift card because it's so fucking out of control. Like in the promo that Dean put together for the show, we've talked about, the current government stats saying 220 people dying every day from an opiate overdose. And so this show goes about an hour, hour and a half. Do the math, 8 to 10 people are going to die by the time we finish this fucking show tonight from an opiate overdose. That's just opiates, man. That ain't no other drugs and shit. So, sometimes, like I've said on this show, I second guess myself, a little self-conscious about putting myself out there the way I have, doing this program and all that shit. And then I say to myself, wait a minute, what the fuck? I have no right to keep to myself what I went through and the experience that I had and survived if it helps even one person stay alive even one day longer. When shit like that's going on, it just fucking blows my mind. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then one other thing, and then we're going to kind of shift gears. Man, when I was down in South Cali last week, I was that fucking close to staying a few more days because Matthew Perry, the guy from Friends who has that book out right now. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for putting that up, Dean. He did a book signing yesterday, and I really wanted to go to meet him and invite him to be on the podcast. I've said on previous episodes I'd love to have him on this show. And I'm not going to stop trying. I'm going to try to get through to his agent and his reps and, see if we can get him on here to talk about his story. And if you don't know Matthew Perry's story, fucking A, man, holy fucking cow. We all got our different bottoms and shit like that and war stories. And for him to have survived what he went through with his opiate addiction and the health challenges he's had, talk about a miracle. And he is inspiring people, including me, to stay clean. So Matthew, if by any chance you're having to see this show, man, we fucking love to have you on. And so, yeah, I almost stayed down there longer, but I just had commitments I had to come back for. So I didn't get to go to that book signing, but hopefully he'll do some more. I'll get a chance to meet him in person eventually. So anyway, shifting gears, man, I got to say, I've been homesick this week. I have. I've been homesick as a motherfucker. Homesick for Florida, which is my second home. I grew up in Detroit. That's where I lived my first 30 years, and I spent 30 in Central Florida. And part of the reason I'm homesick is, for those of y'all in Central Florida and South Florida, man, there's some fucking cool conventions. Well, DACNA just ended today. The Daytona Area Convention of Narcotics Anonymous just went on this past weekend. And then this coming weekend is the Key West NA Convention down there in Monroe. They do this, it's, what do they call it, Serenity in the Sun or the Spiritual, whatever it is. It's a great convention. And, down in the Florida Keys, the Conch Republic, that one's coming up. The Recovery in Paradise Spiritual Retreat. There you go. It's an NA event that they do every year. I've been down to it before. My brother actually went down there with me once, a long time ago, and man, I really want to be there, but I just can't fucking get away. I got too many other commitments and other stuff coming up. And then the one in Daytona, oh my God, do I have some history there. Yeah, that one just wrapped up, man. That's where it was held at. In fact, G Money, you went out to that one with me one year, man. We hung out, but man, do I have some long history there as a young and wild single guy, married, divorced, married again, divorced, young and wild and free again. So, hey, yeah, you get the idea, man. A lot of crazy stuff goes out in them conventions. Lots of fun, but lots of good recovery, too. And so, anyway, yeah, I was feeling a little homesick, for my recovery community in Florida. But, hey, I'm out here now. I'm out west, and there's so much cool stuff going on out here, too. So, yeah, I just kind of had to say to myself, Glenn, you don't live there anymore, So, but I was feeling a little homesick. Shout out to all my Florida friends and family out there. So, yeah, let me talk a little bit about, I don't know if you have the pictures handy, Dean, but that reminded me, man, that, on social media, And again, if you're a person that's struggling with addiction and you're hanging with us watching this show, there are a shit ton of recovery social media pages out there. There's Facebook pages and YouTube channels and all kinds of stuff. And I sent you a couple. Yeah, look at this, Dean. Sober Tribe. Look at how many followers they got. 535,000 followers. This one's called Sober Dad over here, and then 110,000 followers for Sober Tribe. And so I thought we'd show these today because it just occurred to me, you know, a lot of times when you're thinking about getting clean and you're worried about your reputation and, oh, you know, all that bullshit, it's fucking more common than you might think, man. There are a lot of people out there involved in recovery. When you're talking about just, you know, this is just one little Facebook page. You got over 500,000 followers, you know, and over 100,000 on the other one, you know. And so I
so
thought
there's
it was
hope
cool.
for us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then this next pic, Dean, if you can pull up that bench that I saw down in South Cali, look at that. I'm just driving down Sunset Boulevard. I'm probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 blocks away from the Roxy, and I'm sitting at a traffic light, and I look over to my right, and I say, God damn, we are everywhere, everywhere. And you can see on the bench, it says Greater Hollywood Area. And this is a PR thing. You know, there's a tradition in NA that we are, you know, based on attraction rather than promotion. And so it's just a public relations thing. You know, if you don't get the information out there that NA is available to people, how are they going to know? And again, my disclaimer to all my NA guru, police, purist friends, I ain't trying to represent. I'm just another guy trying to stay clean another day. I also will say I took a picture of that bench and thought we'd show it on the show today because it is pretty cool that, you know, the word is out there. And this is nothing that somebody watching this show should feel any kind of stigma about or whatever. It's about saving your life, man. And there are resources out there, you know. We're even out on park benches trying to help people. And so, anyway, I appreciate you showing that pic, Dean. So, anyway, let me talk a little bit more about my trip down there. And Dean, feel free if you want to bring up any pics. I sent you some random pics of me in
I'm just
Hollywood.
along for the ride, yes.
Yeah, I had a star on the Walk of Fame. I had a cool pic, yeah. And so I put that on my Facebook, and I said, hey, y'all didn't know, did you? And, you know, the thing of it is if you want a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, you can have one, too, for $20.
What do they do? They just Photoshop,
them, you know, and they got little letters that are in this little box, and you tell them your name, and they put it right on the star. But here's the funny thing: if you look at me, if you can put that back up, Dean.
Okay.
If the guy behind me, the pic on the right, you see the guy in the black jacket and pants, he's got his phone up and he's like taking a picture of me. They thought I was like some guy or some shit, man. It was a trip, you know. But anyway, yeah, so that was a fun day. And then I got my picture there with the Hollywood sign behind me. And the reason for the trip down there really was to go to these 2 shows I went to. They call them Coachella side shows. And I got to see that girl Benny and that group Cannons. And man, it just goes to show y'all, if you know, I'm not saying I'm all that in a bag of chips. I'm one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet. I'll also say I am a firm believer anymore in vibes and energy and manifesting things. So, Dean,
I'm just cycling. I have no idea who the.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, well, this is Benny. Let's show these for a second. This is Benny, one of my favorite artists in the world, and me and Shivang actually met her at the shelter up in Detroit, or St. Andrews Hall, where the shelter is, and she remembered me, man, and she came up, and look at her, she got her teeth all blinged out. This is before the show. She came outside, and there were probably about a dozen of us hanging out, waiting in line already, and she remembered me. She thought she knew me from Philadelphia. I had to remind her it was Detroit. But she was like, when she saw me, because I saw her and she had them glasses on, and I walked up and I go, is that Benny? And she turned around and looked at me. She goes, hi, and gave me a hug. And we bullshitted, and I reminded her that me and Shivang gave her some music and shit. And so anyway, her show was unbelievable. And then the other pics, if you want to bring it back up, Dean, because I do want to talk about them for a second.
We're
Yes,
talking.
this is Michelle Joy. She is the lead singer from the group Cannons, and they are going to be on Jimmy Kimmel Live Tuesday night. If you haven't checked them out, my daughter-in-law, Awana, she loves them too, and I had to send her this pic. But I just got real lucky, man. I just got real lucky. I'd kind of given up on meeting Michelle, but I met this cool guy, Thad, at the Roxy, who works there, and he kind of gave me the hookup on this VIP section, and I was vibing, hanging out in there. And after the show, I hung out for a while, and sure enough, fucking Michelle came out there because they're an LA band, and they had lots of friends and family there. So she came out to catch up with people, and I just couldn't resist. I said, "Oh my God, Michelle, I love you guys so much. Can I get a pic?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's do this," you know. And then I told her, jokingly but half serious, I was like, "Man, I have turned so many people onto y'all's music. I ought to get a commission on y'all's shit." She started laughing, and I just said, "Hey, thanks so much for the pic. You rock." And that was it. You know, I mean, I was kind of, being a fangirl in the stand and all that, but they were just so nice to me. And the other pic you showed, Dean, that was of the bass player and the keyboardist, Paul. Yeah, what a great guy, man. He's such a humble guy, but so nice to me. And then, I don't want to keep name dropping and showing all these pictures, but I did meet this girl, Tiffany Day, who
I'm gonna
warmed up.
guess.
Yeah, there's Tiffany.
Okay.
Young girl. She's like 23 years old. She's from Canada. It's so bizarre, her story. She's from Canada, grew up in Kansas, and now has been living in LA for a while, and she's this awesome performer. And then I also met her drummer, Ross Maronki, who is really fucking cool.
Okay,
And,
I've got two choices here.
yeah, there he is.
Okay.
There's Ross. And they were just so nice to me, man. I was like a little social butterfly bopping around that place, It was so cool. And then the next night, the warm up for Cannons was this group called Bay Ledges. And the lead singer is this dude, Zach Hurd. And there's
Yep.
Zach. And
right.
he is so cool. So I can't recommend enough to y'all to check them out too. So Tiffany Day and Bay Ledges, you'll love them. And I was gonna say this, man. I really thought about going to Coachella. But I think I'm getting too fucking old for all that shit, man. Me and Shivang were watching Coachella live on YouTube last night, and we were texting each other back and forth, and they had like 5 different stages you could watch live and all this stuff, and there's like so many people, and it's just when you go to these shows at these smaller venues like the Roxy and the Shelter and St. Andrews and all that, and you get to meet people up close and personal, the idea of standing out in this festival with thousands of people and waiting in line and all that shit, it ain't too attractive anymore. So anyways, man, my trip down to South Cali, it really couldn't have gone much better. Had a ball. And by the way, if you go back and watch episode 5 of this podcast from last week, you'll also see, man, I was staying in a fucking nice crib, man. That was beautiful there. But anyway, so that's my rundown. How long did I go? Shit, I went almost a half hour. I was hoping to do that in about 15, 20 minutes. But we still got lots of time on this show today. And now believe me, y'all, I talked to our guests today, my boy G and Shivang, and I told Dean this too. I know I'm a talker. Believe me, I know I'm a fucking talker. I ain't naive. I might be crazy, but I ain't stupid. And one of the things I told all 3 of y'all is I do know when to shut the fuck up, okay? My old sales training from Tom Hopkins. I am a student of the Tom Hopkins School of Sales. And, it was drilled into me, man. When you're a salesperson, you got to, pitch your product or your service and know when to shut the fuck up and let the buyer purchase. And so I'm applying that same principle to doing this podcast when we have guests on here. I can run my mouth, as some of y'all know. We can sit here and talk. Look at Dean's eyes like, yeah, we know, for 2 fucking hours. But I really want to hear from our guests today. And so I'll ask some questions and I'll try to guide the conversation in a certain direction. And when it's time to, wrap or whatever, I'll interject. But I'm really, really excited to hear from our guests today. And I promise y'all, I try my hardest not to interrupt and things like that. So with all that said, G Money, are you ready? Let's bring them on. Ta-da! I've been talking about you for a while. Welcome, G's here from Miami, Florida. You picking us up okay, G?
Yeah. What's going on?
Oh man, I'm so excited to have you on the show. As you know, this is something we've talked about for well over a year. If you remember, I was visiting you in Miami last,
Mhm.
fall, and we did a little video we put on social media talking about you being on the show. And I'm really looking forward to you and I interacting on this program. I know you agreed to be part of it. You may not be able to participate every single episode. I know you're a busy guy, but I'm hoping we can have you on at least on a semi-regular basis. And I want to say this, and now stop talking, man. I'm really excited about this show today because we truly are nationwide. It's like I'm coming to you from Sacramento. You're in Miami. Dean's in Orlando. Shebang's in Detroit, and he's on standby. So we'll be bringing on him in a moment. But with all that said, G, I am so excited to have you and Shebang on the show today because there are no two other people, and man, I'm trying not to get filled up, that were more instrumental in helping me to kick that opiate addiction and get on with my life.
Yeah.
And I did a little reel last night and I kind of put you out there as G Money, fitness coach. And we talked about it and you were like, Dad, I don't know about the whole fitness coach or expert thing, just a fitness enthusiast. What I will say, Glenn, is I don't know anybody in better shape than you, and I know what a gym rat you are, if I can say it that way. You've been
Come
going to the
walk around
gym.
Miami and you'll you'll see
Yeah,
different.
I know. I've been down there with you working out at that gym, that outdoor gym. But the
Yeah.
point is that I don't know anybody in better shape, and I am so proud
Mm.
of you as your dad, and that you have committed to doing this. How many years? This is my first question.
Mhm.
How many years has it been now that you have been going to the gym on a regular basis?
You know, as far back as I can remember, from just a little kid, being in Taekwondo and involved in the combat sports and sports, like I've always been into working out, but in the gym, like week to week, being consistent, doing resistance training. I want to say over 11 years now. I think back in my last year of high school is when I really started, and I just haven't stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Dean, I don't know if you can, but there are some before and after pics that I sent to you right before the show. If we can get them on, great. If not, don't worry about it. But
Mhm.
your transformation, G, is really amazing. And you are such an inspiration to me. And like I said earlier in the show, I'm so glad that we're finally getting around on this program to talking about exercise
Mhm.
because when you're kicking opiates, you have no energy, none whatsoever. And I want to say to anybody who may be watching, trying to kick, if you push through it and make yourself get up, move around, do some exercise, it generates more energy, gets the endorphins flowing, and helps you to feel better. So, before we go too much more into fitness, Glenn,
Yeah.
I had asked you before the program if it was okay if we talked about this, and you said you were okay with it. And I want to tell our listeners, I know there's a lot that already know this, that in addition to me being your dad and you being my son, we have that unique relationship where we truly are each other's best friend. I mean, there ain't nothing off topic with us, man.
Right.
Believe me, man. We
Yeah.
talk about everything.
Yeah.
So if I may, being that you grew up with me, you lived with me up until, not long before you got married a few years ago, what was it like for you being there up close and personal through the struggles I had with addiction, even going back to the years when I had a problem with the booze? What was it like for you?
Well, let me say this first of all. I'm just, so proud of you, creating this podcast, putting yourself out there. I've watched every episode. What is this, episode 6 now, I think?
Yeah,
And
this is six. Yeah.
yeah, just been at all about like the courage it takes for you to share all this with on put on such a high platform with like YouTube and Facebook and all these streaming
Thank you.
services. So I mean, it's inspiring to me. I mean, honestly, it's like who doesn't love an underdog story? And
Thank you.
I think we can both say confidently that there was some people in our lives that kind of, and we all hoped you were going to get through what you were going through. But, some people probably, were counting you out like, I don't know if he's going to get through this one. And,
Yeah.
I just always knew, though, from, being your son, growing up with you, the strength you have inside you, and the perseverance, and for you to basically almost feel like you were at rock bottom, and pull yourself out of what you were going through, and get through it, and be and see where you're at now and the place you're at. It's just so inspiring. And so, yeah, I just want to say that I'm so
Well, I
proud
appreciate
of you.
that, G,
Yeah.
man. What a kid you guys. Hey, I'm just so blessed and lucky to have such a great
But
son and best friend. Well, I
yeah.
appreciate that, Glenn. I really
Yeah.
do.
Thanks. And what was the question though? You said,
Well, I
what was it
just
like
was
growing up?
wondering, again, you see, and not to get into, a lot of my history, but I grew up, your Gramps. You've heard me
Hmm.
tell the stories. God bless him. May
Yeah.
he rest in peace. I had a very complicated relationship with my father. He was a guy who was a full blown alcoholic, too. He was a
Yeah.
program guy. He was very supportive of my involvement with NA as a younger man in my 20s before he passed away and all that shit. But the
Hmm.
point I'm making is, before that, because he stayed sober for about a year there during the last, several years of his life or whatever. But I remember the fucking horror stories of, his drinking years when he was bad, man. And my whole
Yeah,
family, good
I
God,
don't
man.
have horror stories with you though. If I go back to when I was a little kid, you were clean and sober
Yeah, yeah.
up until I think I was like 12 or 13. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
the
had that
exact age, but
relapse.
I was, when you were clean and sober, you were going to meetings, and you were bringing me along because they had like a area for
Yeah,
parents to take their kids.
yeah.
And as a kid, you're playing with the toys, and you're off to the side, but you're still as a kid.
Listening.
Kids are smarter than we think. And so you're
If
listening. And I
through
remember
nothing,
listening to the
osmosis.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I remember listening to the horror stories, and you're still, you don't really understand it, but you're still you're processing the information, and it's like I do remember as a kid hearing these stories, going like, oh, I never want to touch drugs and alcohol, and I remember when you relapsed the first time, and the drinking got a bit out of hand.
it got out of hand.
You
All
can
right.
tell the difference between your first relapse and the second one was the alcohol. You know when someone's drunk. You know when
Yeah,
someone's been drinking. The pills, you you know, we lived together for so long, and you're so adaptive to somebody else that it was kind of a gradual process to where you got to at the
yeah.
end of that run.
Yep.
So I was kind of like, just like I didn't see how
I
bad
rem
it was that second time. Now the first time with the alcohol,
Yeah,
you
it's
can see that. But
yep.
growing up with you clean and sober as a kid, and then seeing the first relapse, I was in high school. I was living with you. You were a functioning alcoholic, which I still don't understand. Again, it take like for you to be able to work full
I
time,
don't know how I did it, man. Yeah.
various jobs, DJing on the weekends. Like I remember like a quick story of you working at the safety council all week, and then you doing like a weekend kind of drinking, and then having to get up hungover, go DJ out in the hot sun for a pool
Oh, I
party. And,
remember that apartment party. Yeah, you
but
were there. Yeah, you were my
I
roadie
think,
that day.
yeah, and I think some positives I take from it was, first of all, you were the best father. I couldn't ask for a better dad. Like you were always there for me. I was always loved, roof over my head, food on my plate. You always wanting the best for me, giving me wisdom. And with the drinking, you were never a angry drunk. You were either
No,
real happy,
or
wanting
sad.
to dance and play around, or you were real sad and moody,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you
I
were
was
never
never a
angry. So
violent or
there was never
angry.
any
Yeah,
sort of abuse like some kids go through with
yeah,
parents who
yeah.
drink and stuff. It was just me like knowing, okay, this isn't, sad seeing you drunk and stuff, but it wasn't like not to get into the whole, how it was
You
like.
know,
I'm trying, well, my point is like growing up with you, I definitely could see that addictive personality in you. And it wasn't just from the drinking and the opiates. It was from like if you found something you like to eat it every single day. You heard a song you like, still you got to listen to it till you're sick
yeah,
of
I'm a
it.
real one. All right. Yeah.
A TV show, you got to binge watch the whole show. Just that, addictive personality.
You
but
know,
going
I
back,
don't mean to interrupt, Glenn. I
yeah,
said I wouldn't be doing that, but man, I'm just sitting here thinking of a story. You know, there was it was about a 1 year period there where you and I became obsessed with playing darts. And
yeah,
we would go up to that bar. Oh fuck, what's it called? Kiwi over in
hmm,
Altamont in the Orlando area. And you know, I'd have my beer at the table and all. And I remember it was almost like you were my parent saying, "All right, Dad, you know, don't drink too much. Let's not get too fucked up today or whatever." And I would say, "Well, I got to go to the bathroom," and I'd sneak over to the bar and do a couple
yeah. You
bombs
thought you
and
were being slick, but I knew what you were doing.
I
See,
know that's what I was going to
there
say.
was
Is that you know
definitely
you think
times
you're
like that.
tricking everybody, but the only one you're tricking is yourself.
Yeah,
Because I afterwards I thought to myself, God damn man, how many times a guy go to the fucking bathroom, you
yeah,
know? And then there were a couple times I caught out of the corner of my eye, you know, and that happened a lot, you know.
yeah. Kids
So
are
yeah,
smarter than we think they are, and
yeah.
one positive thing when we can dwell on a lot of the negative things about that, but one true positive thing we both agree on was that for me seeing how alcohol affected you, me seeing how drugs have affected you in the past from when you were clean sober, going to these meetings, certain family history, it definitely made me aware, and you don't want to it's just not what's the word? It's not drugs and alcohol just weren't enticing to me
Hmm.
because I saw what it did to the people I cared about the most in this world. And when you
Well, you know
see
what?
alcohol almost kill somebody you love the most in this world, it makes you I don't even want to drink it. And but
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
learned in myself though that I can have a drink here and there and not touch it for months, or I can have yeah,
Well,
I
I
can have
get
some
what you're
alcohol.
saying, Glenn,
Yeah,
and I've said it before when we've talked, man. At the very least, if I've done anything as a example, is to show you how not to fucking do shit,
yeah.
you know. And you know, I want to say something about what you just said because this is important.
Hmm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, and oh my God, I mean this so sincerely. Thank you, thank you know your sister, your spouses, others in the family for not fucking patronizing me when we're together. I know you're not a big drinker. We've talked about that. And I admire that about you, you know, that you don't like that feeling of not being in control. I'll also say that it means the world to me that when we go out somewhere, if you guys want to have a drink, have a fucking drink. I don't expect anyone else to change their behavior
Yeah,
because of me. You know, me and Shebang have talked about this. We'll talk about it in a little bit. It's like that whole thing of, oh, don't drink around Glenn, man. We don't want to be a bad influence. We don't want him to start using because we drink. You know, it's like, bitch, please don't fucking flatter yourself. If I want a fucking drink, I'll go get me one. You know, it's like you
yeah,
drive down the road all day, every day, beer, wine, liquor, drugs, you know. It's not about that, man. It's like I don't want anyone to change their behavior and like I just said, patronize me.
right.
So we've had that conversation.
Yeah,
You get it. And it makes me more comfortable when people just act as they ordinarily would. And, you know, that's one thing that's weird. It's like when you get clean and sober, man, it usually fucks with other people than it does with you. So thank you for not
yeah.
patronizing me about that kind of stuff.
Hey,
Well,
quick story I gotta say real quick,
yeah,
then we'll
yeah.
move on. Is you remember you we lived in a complex neighborhood, and there was a liquor store,
Oh
ABC
my
Liquor
God.
down the street. That was your go-to spot, and it's so weird. That place was open like 20 plus years. That was your go-to spot.
I
And
know the
what was it?
story
The
you're going to
day
tell.
you got back from rehab, like or the week of, they shut that liquor store down.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I say. I got sober and the ABC went out of business, and that's a
Yeah, that
true
was the
story.
best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, for those of y'all in the Orlando area, there used to be an ABC right on 434, just east of the interstate
Yeah, I don't know
there,
why,
and
but I always found that funny that
yeah,
yeah,
man, that's I went into Brighton, where that boy Marshall Mathers went to,
yeah.
actually up in Michigan, and that was a good experience for me going into that rehab because I stayed sober, clean and sober for over 6 years when I got out of there, before I broke my ankle and the whole opiate thing
Mhm.
started. But yeah, man, I used to go up there every fuck fucking day. And what G just told us is true. I get back from rehab and the fucking ABC went out of business and they lost my business.
Yeah.
They couldn't even stay open no more. But anyway, so G, thank you so much for sharing, that with us. And we'll talk about it some more as we go because, this is a family thing, man. That's one thing I do understand about it, having grown up around it as a kid myself, is when somebody's all fucked up on whether it's booze or any kind of other drug, man, it affects the rest of the family too. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us today. And again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today and for your support, And so let's talk about fitness a little bit, bro, because once, I got clean and I kicked and as I've told my story on the show before. I was up in Michigan for a few months and I got back to Orlando, and it was like, all right, I know that's when everybody was kind of like holding their breath, keeping their fingers crossed. Like, okay, he was kind of a safe environment up in Detroit, going to meetings and all that. Now he's back in Florida and the dope man and all that. Let's see if he stays clean. Now, there's probably people still wondering, will this motherfucker stay clean? It's been a couple of years. But the thing is, when I got back to Florida, man, I made my mind up. That's it. I gotta fucking get busy. I gotta do something to occupy my time that's healthy. Your Uncle Tom, one of my best friends in the world, Tom and Lorraine, taught me this a long time ago, that whole thing of the parable of the empty mind, man. You take that fucking negative shit out of there, you better put some positive shit back in real fast, or that negative shit's going to get right back in there. I don't know if they'll even remember teaching me that, but they did, and I've never forgotten it, man.
Yeah.
And so I got busy trying to do positive shit again. Not to mention, I put on a shit ton of weight. That whole recovery belly. I've showed those before and after pictures.
You were
on
eating
this
good
show.
in Michigan.
Yeah, but the thing of it is as you know, kiddo, I got busy going to the gym on the daily, and that's where you started trying to help coach me through things. Just starting off slow, and then gradually, I started on the bike, and then I added a little lifting and
What'd
stuff
you lose,
like
like
that.
50 pounds?
And what's that now?
What'd you lose, like 50 pounds?
I did. I lost
Yeah,
50
that's
pounds.
an
I was up to
incredible
180. I got all the way down to 130. And now I'm fluctuating right around between 135, 140. I have a goal that you and I have been talking about, G, that I want to get to. And I'm going to fucking get to it. But, we'll talk about that maybe another time on the show. Because right now, what I do want to talk about a little bit is what you were thinking to yourself when I started this journey. Because I will say, once I started going to the gym, I didn't know what my level of commitment was going to be. I'd tried going to the gym many times. I mean, I've always been kind of an athletic kind of guy, even when I was a younger man. I played hockey a couple years, played basketball, football, baseball, all that stuff. I was on the wrestling team until I started fucking getting high all the time. All that shit went to the wayside, But I'm no stranger to being fit and getting fit and all.
Right.
But there were many times over the years where, I was one of the what I call the New Year's people, where I'd get a gym membership after the New Year, and within a month I'd be like, fuck it, I ain't doing this no more. So once I started, I did not know what my level of commitment was going to be and what level of shape I was going to get into. And here we are almost 2 years later, and I'm still going almost on the daily. I love going to the gym. I miss it, when I can't go and shit. And I just feel like I owe that all to you, Glenn. You have inspired me and coached me so much on that. So anyway, with all that being said, man, just share, if you would, a little bit about your thoughts on how you guided me that way, and then your experience with being fit,
Yeah, no, thanks for saying all that. I think approaching, when you decide, it's a mindset thing. When you make your mind up that, okay, you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, I want to be the best version of myself, or I want to get in shape. It's really like a lot of it's mental. And I think you going through what you went through, and you telling me that, if you getting through those opiate withdrawals and getting clean again, you said, if I did that, I can do anything. So you had the right mindset. You're like, well, shit, if I got through that, I know I can go to the gym regularly and see where it gets me. And I think with that mindset, you had being consistent, seeing those small changes, you just started to get addicted to it. Once you start seeing your body transform and the way you're feeling, not just physically, but mentally, then it just becomes where it's not even a challenge. You look, like you said, you look forward to it. You're missing it. You're probably excited to go to the gym after the podcast.
I'm going.
Right?
I am today. I need
Yeah,
the sesh.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it just, it boils down to a mental thing. For me, I remember, you know, in high school, I was working at a restaurant, and they had like a push-up challenge in the back of the kitchen. And this guy that I thought wasn't in the best shape, he ended up doing more push-ups than me. And the next day I woke up and my chest was real sore. And that was like, I looked myself in the mirror, like I was a little embarrassed. I was like, that's it. I'm getting in the gym today.
Hey, G, let me interject real quick. Hey, Dean, if you're paying attention, bro, I did email you some before and after pics right before the show. If there's any way you could possibly show them, I would love to show them while we're talking with G. So anyway, so that was kind of your motivator, Glenn?
That was my motivator. And also at the same time too, when you're young in high school as well, you're like, from an aesthetic point of view, you want to like kind of look good. So that was a motivator too, to you know,
be attracted
to get in the gym.
ladies,
But
right? Yeah,
it was also too to like want to feel stronger, feel better about myself. One thing I've learned about this whole fitness journey I've been on over the past decade is that my approach, first I want to say, you know, I don't consider myself a fitness expert. I don't consider myself like a personal trainer or a coach. All I can do is, when we're on this podcast, is talk about what has worked best for me, what I've learned over the last 10 years, and just share what has worked for me. And for anyone watching that might be in a place where they want to try to, you know, get in the gym or get in better shape or pick up on fitness, you know, you can take my advice, and I would say anyone looking to get in the gym, if you go online and do your research, there's so much information out there that sometimes it's overwhelming. Even myself, when I go on there, you know, you might have an answer, you might have a question, someone's telling you this is the way to do it, and the other person saying that's not the way to do it, this is the way to do it. All I can say is you got to experiment, dabble in a few different things that interest you, and then just do what works best for you.
Yeah, I know you've said that you've learned a lot over the years by trial and error, and I've witnessed that.
That's the biggest thing, is trial and error, and it's going to be trial and error. It's never going to be a steady climb to where you want to be. It's going to be like a graph where it's going to be ups and downs. And, you know, even yourself, what we've been talking about is a certain goal you're trying to reach, where it's like, you know, you lost all that weight and now you're kind of stagnant and you just can't seem to get to that goal. So it's not just a steady, like, you know, once you start, you're going to get to your goal just like that.
Well, Glenn, I think that's great information. And, you know, as we move forward and we're on, you know, you're on the podcast more, I'd like to talk more with you, because we could spend an hour talking about things that you and I have discussed having to do with macros, you know, calorie deficits, the whole low fat, low carb thing. Because as you know, you and I'll just tell y'all folks, me and Glenn, we go back and forth. And
we could spend a whole episode talking about anything that you would wanted to bring up in the podcast. Like when it comes to fitness, I'll talk for over an hour. But
I know. But what I was going to say is, you know, you've actually bitched me out sometimes, like, God damn it, Dad, carbs are not the bad guy, you know, because I try to do the low carb, low fat thing. And sometimes he's like, dude, you got to have some carbs in your diet, you know, so, you know what I mean.
I mean, again, like I don't have all the answers. All I can do is say what works best for me. I think we can both agree, when you pick a goal that you're trying to strive towards, whether it's fitness, you know, sometimes it's easier to get to that goal. And then once you get to that goal, okay, how do I keep it, right? For example, for me, if I say I wanted to lose 15 pounds, sometimes it's easier to lose that 15 pounds, but then it's like, how do I maintain that weight? And I think a lot of people struggle to, you know, they don't struggle to get to their goal. They struggle to like maintain it. So I think some advice I could give in other episodes would be great, you know, ways that has worked for me of lifestyle approaches to fitness, where it's something you're going to be able to stick to, you know, it's like for a lifestyle, not just a quick fix, no carb diet, but
Well,
like a
I'm
lifestyle
glad you
approach.
said that, Glenn. And I don't mean to interject, but I really want to comment on that because, I've had a lot of people ask me, because I did lose 50 pounds, like, oh my God, dude, what diet were you on? And I always tell people, I'm not on no fucking diet. I just started eating healthy. And you know what the biggest thing I think for me was the sugar. I was fucking, sugar is such a fucking drug. I was having a conversation not long ago with a friend of mine, Greg, that I met out here in Sac, and we were having coffee one afternoon. This is several months ago, and the topic of sugar came up, and he was like, "Man, this shit's more addicting than fucking cocaine." And it's
That's
like
crazy. Yeah, I
true.
actually just saw that on Google that sugar is like it's saying like the stats is like 7 times more addictive to cocaine or something
Isn't
like
that
that.
crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as and some of my other buddies and family know, man, I got addicted to them fucking caramel macchiatos at Starbucks with the extra drizzle for shizzle my nizzle, and I had no idea at the time, but afterwards, when I started paying closer attention to sugar, I was looking it up, man, and them things have like 50, 60 grams of sugar in one of them, and I was drinking like 5 a day. It's
So let
like
me
I
stop
cut
you
them out.
there. So
Yeah,
for somebody, let's just say not somebody that's looking to be like a super athlete and be like ripped and in shape. They're just trying to just be
yeah,
healthier in shape. You don't have to be in the gym 2 hours a day. You don't have to go on some crash diet. Making simple changes, like instead
yes,
of getting the
yes,
caramel macchiato, just get maybe a black coffee, put some stevia
yeah.
sweetener in there. You're
Well, bro, you're
hold on, and um not drinking your calories. Just something simple as going from like drinking. One guy I know lost 20 pounds. All he did, he didn't change anything. He stopped drinking regular root beer. He just started drinking diet root beer, and he lost
oh
like
yeah.
20 pounds just
Stuff
walking
like
more
that is
and
huge.
not drinking
No,
his
you're
not eating his
exactly
stuff.
right, Glenn. Yep.
Yeah,
And I don't mean to interject, but we're gonna bring Shebang on in a minute because we've been going for an hour here, and I
yeah.
can't thank you enough for all the great input. But I do want to comment on that because you're right, man. Even I don't go to Starbucks much anymore, but when I do, if I get I don't get the macchiato, but I get a latte, and they make it with almond milk and
Hmm.
they have sugar-free syrup. Or when it comes to soda. I couldn't tell you the last time I drank a regular soda. I'm drinking Diet Pepsi, which, by the way, uh, I only got Diet because they didn't have Pepsi Zero, and there is a difference, man. I like the Zero a lot better. I know
Yeah.
some people are Coke people,
So,
but
and
I'm a
anyone
Pepsi
else
guy.
watching too, like, I'm talking strictly to, not from a health standpoint. I'm talking right now from a body aesthetic, body composition standpoint of cutting out the from a soda to a diet soda. Because there are going to be some people that say, "Oh, I'm not drinking diet soda because the
You get used to the
aspartame and the
flavor, though.
sweeteners." But from strictly not from a health standpoint, from a body composition standpoint, I highly recommend not drinking your calories because
Yeah.
a lot of people, you want to feel full and satiated, so you eating your calories is going to keep you more full because like drinking like say a Sprite I think has like if you look at a bottle of Sprite, it has like 53 grams of
I
sugar.
know it's
I know
crazy.
some people that drink like 4 Sprites a day at my
Or
job.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
No,
like
that's a good point. And you know what, Glenn? I remember you telling me exactly what you just said. That was one of the things that was such an inspiration to me is when we were talking, I'm being like, God damn, I'm craving the sugar. And you were like, Dad, would you rather drink your calories or eat them? And like I said, I wasn't bullshitting y'all. I haven't drank a regular soda. I couldn't tell you the last time. It's literally been like a couple of years. And you get used to the flavor of diet. It's like I can now to drink a regular one. It's like drinking fucking syrup. I just
yeah.
it ain't me. But anyway, Glenn, before we move on and bring Shebang, I promise we're gonna get to you in a second here. And Dean, I don't know if you can bring up the Dustin Poirier photo, but we got to talk about that. I see you're wearing the Good Fight Foundation T-shirt today, Glenn, and I know that's an
Yeah.
organization that's very, very special to you.
There he is.
And yeah,
Yeah.
there he is. Thanks for bringing that up, Dean. I'm so proud of you, man, what you've done with your fitness things. And I know Dustin Poirier is too. My son Glenn happens to be buddies with Dustin Poirier. And, I don't want to speak for you, Glenn, but I know you went out to a 5K run that Dustin held. There I am with him too, by the way. I was dope sick in that picture, by the way. I got clean not long after that. But
I've
man,
actually talked to Dustin about this picture. So anyone watching, Dustin is a UFC fighter,
yeah, we
which
should
is
talk
Ultimate
about who he
Fighting
is.
Championship
People
under,
that don't know.
for mixed martial arts. And one of my biggest
People,
inspirations.
how could you not know? He beat the fuck out of Connor a couple of times,
Yeah,
but I don't know. Not
I think he's
everybody's
the
into it.
only guy to ever knock
Yeah,
Conor McGregor out. So,
yeah.
what a, oh
But
yeah,
in
just
any case,
just an
Glenn,
incredible journey.
I know the Good Fight Foundation is an organization very special to you for a few reasons. And, you went out to Louisiana to support the 5K run that Dustin and the Good Fight Foundation put on. So I wanted to take just a minute to talk a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about the Good Fight Foundation and why you love it so much.
Yeah, so the Good Fight Foundation is a nonprofit that is run by Dustin Poirier and his team. It's a what I like about the foundation is that they're not tied to one specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to raise money for, again, it's a nonprofit for
Yep.
different goals they might have. Like one, for example, was unfortunately a fallen officer in Louisiana trying to protect his community, was killed in the line of duty, and they raised money for his wife and his family. They made a young kid's wish come true, a young kid with a rare disease who was disabled. They like a Make-A-Wish Foundation type of thing. They asked this kid, Aaron Hill, what he wanted, and this little kid,
I remember
such a powerful wish. He wished that there was a playground would be built for kids with disability so they could have fun as well. Unfortunately, that wish never got fulfilled.
Yeah, there you go.
So Dustin and the foundation, they made that a goal of theirs, and they were actually able to raise money to get that playground built. I actually had the opportunity back in September to go to Dustin's hometown in Lafayette, and I got to actually see the playground, and it was so powerful to just see it in person. So
yeah, I knew you went to the 5K, but I didn't know you got to go to the playground, man.
Yeah, I saw. I took a trip out there to go see it. They partnered up with St. Jude to create awareness for kids with cancer. So that was a very special day for me. With my having a friend that I grew up with that unfortunately passed at a young age with cancer. I never really had closure with that, and so for one of my biggest inspirations to fly out to his hometown, participate and be part of the cause for the foundation and go for a run, creating awareness, that was kind of that was such a special day to have closure for that. So anyway, if anyone's watching, the website's the goodfightgroup.com, and they're always setting goals for different things. You can make a donation. So,
well, I can't thank you enough for talking about it, Glenn. And just one more reason, everyone, why I'm so proud of this guy, man. I'm so blessed and so lucky to have such a great son and best friend. And so, Glenn, I want to thank you again for being on the podcast today. I look forward to you being a part of this program moving forward as you can, and talking more about fitness, and hopefully, providing some inspiration and hope to people like you did with me, who are, trying to get their life back on track, trying to kick opiates, being an inspiration for them to get back into good physical shape, because that's a huge part of it, man. And so I know for a fact, just by being on today, you've already inspired some people. And so thank you again for agreeing to be on the show today, and for all the information you provided, kiddo.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone watching too that might want to shoot me a message if they have any questions about fitness or want to talk. You can shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm happy to help. And
and I think I got to go back. Oh my God, here I've had this thing on private chat, and I didn't even realize all the comments we've been getting. We got a shit ton of comments in the comment section, and I didn't even know, because I had it on the private chat with Dean. But in any case, I went back to it because I was going to say we put a link to the Good Fight Foundation in the chat. And,
Okay.
oh my
Yeah,
God, it'll
great.
take me forever to catch up on all these comments in the chat. But anyways, thank you so much for everybody that's chiming in on the chat. But Glenn, stay with us because now we got to bring in one of my other partners in crime and someone who I know you're friends with as well is my boy Shebang from Detroit City. There he is, my soulmate in recovery. What's happening, bro?
What's up, brother? How you guys doing?
Good, good. Look at that, man.
What's up,
This
Shebang?
blows my fucking mind. You know, we got Sacramento in the house, Miami in the house, and now Detroit City in the house too. Shebang, as you might know, I put a reel and a story out last night, and I used, a clip from one of your songs from your CD, man, and I am just so, again, I say this, I don't want to sound condescending, bro, but I am so proud of you, man, and everything you've done, not just in recovery that we're going to talk about, but what you're doing with your music, man, and it's like, it's so inspiring to me. So thank you for being on the show with us today, bro.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you and Dean for, considering me to come on the show. So it means a
Okay,
lot.
so I got to put this out there because I did a little live from the doggy park earlier today. I told people we were going to play this little rap that you and G and I did last summer at your studio, and we're not going to play it today, folks. Them guys were freestyling, and it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. We'll just say that. So I would have been fine playing it, but, if you guys weren't comfortable with it, we're going to try to clean it up. Maybe we'll play it on the show down the road when we have you guys both back on again. But I thought it was great. Just fucking blows my mind the way you guys freestyle. And, it made me fucking kind of proud of G. I don't know if you remember telling me this, Shebang, but when we were in your studio, that was the first time you ever heard G freestyle. And afterwards, you told me, like, oh my God, bro, I'm not just saying this because he's your son, but I never heard nobody freestyle like that before. And,
that man can spit. G
Yeah.
can spit, man. He's got that talent for sure.
He can,
man,
and I don't even think he
yeah.
realizes the gift he has. But you can spit too, bro. And I've talked about it a lot on this show and in promos, man. I can't thank you and your brother Shu enough. Oh man, I'm trying not to get filled up about it because it truly helped save my life, man. That y'all, the way I like to say it is kind of took me under your wing. You know what I mean? You got clean a little bit before I did. I think, I don't know, you got like 3-6 months more than me or whatever it is. And we met and formed this friendship and realized we have this bond in common of music and all. And y'all talked me into going into the studio. And I did that rap, that old Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Survival and The Message. Those were the first two I did to auto-tune. And your brother produced them and auto-tuned them for me. And that's it, man. I was hooked. I was fucking hooked from then on. Then, of course, you introduced me to your buddy Jake, the producer. Learned a lot from him. But I've learned more from you about doing music that way than anybody. And I even just put a song out a couple of days ago, that Ride or Die tune, and I can't thank you enough for your comment, man, saying it was beautiful and all. And so, our relationship, as you know, bro, it goes so much deeper than just recovery. It's the whole music thing, too. And I talked a little bit earlier on the show. Benny told me to say hi to you because she remembered you when I reminded her of you down in L.A. So, anyway, let me shut my mouth because, Shebang, I want to hear from you, bro. And like we talked about a little bit before the show, a couple of things I was hoping we could talk about because your experiences with recovery are fascinating to me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your willingness to talk with us a little bit about it today. You actually, went even out of the country and things to that nature, and maybe share even a little bit about the other thing we talked about, that retreat you went on. Where, it fucking blows my mind. 10 days of silence, and for a guy like me who likes to run his fucking mouth, I thought, oh my God, that would be such a bizarre experience to check out and not speak for 10 days. So, Shebang, I know you told me there's a one you can do for 3 days to kind of get used to it and try it out. And that's what I want to try first, and then I'll see where we go from there. So, anyway, if you could talk to us about that kind of stuff on the show today, bro, I would love.
Yeah, of
Mm-hmm.
course, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, that all kind of ties into my whole recovery journey with getting clean and just the walk I've walked, since then. And I'm glad you brought up the meditation retreat, because how it actually came to be, I felt like it was a universe thing, man. Like I was meant to go, because originally my cousin was the one that signed up for it. And about a month or two before, he contacted me and he's like, Shebang, I can't go anymore. If you want to take my spot, you can go. And I was kind of on the fence, man, because at that time, I was very fresh in my addiction. I wasn't fresh in using, but I was fresh where I started realizing, okay, I got a problem, man. Like I need to do something about it, And I remember, my cousin told me about the meditation retreat, and I was taking a lot of Xanax and opioids at the time. Those were my two poisons that really brought me to my knees. And I remember my mom kind of gave me an ultimatum, and she's like, you either go to rehab or you go to this 10-day meditation retreat. And, my background, I come from an Indian family. We've learned in our journey, growing up, parents always taught us different mantras and prayers and meditations and things kind of just to keep yourself grounded, So like, I was like, oh, dude, I'm not going to rehab. That's not for me. I'm not like those people. Like, sign me up for the meditation retreat, And boy, I did not know what I was getting myself into. Let me tell you that, man, because I went in on full-blown withdrawal to a silent meditation retreat, which I'm grateful I went, And this retreat is a lot of Buddha's disciples that go around the world, and they host this retreat at different places, different times.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, and it's free. That's like one of the craziest parts that blows my mind, that it's all donation based, because they're not doing it to make money. They're doing it with the intention to help people free themselves from their own fucked up thoughts, pardon my French. But yeah, man, I went there, 10-day process, meditating anywhere from 6 to 9 hours a day. And they taught us the technique that Buddha used himself to gain enlightenment. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that, as the show goes on. And
absolutely.
It was frightening, man. My fourth day, man, I remember I had a time where I was tripping out, man. I was losing my mind, man. I was going crazy. And, if you wanted to talk to the instructor, you had to sign your name on something. And then you could set up like an appointment to talk to the instructor, right? And I remember I went to the instructor and I started telling him, I was like, dude, I'm going crazy. I need to get out of here. I need to go back to reality. And he just said like one line. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said one line that completely just changed my whole perspective. He's like, what is reality? Is it the life outside where you were chasing the artificial highs and living in the world of materialism? Or is it what you're doing here, trying to get to your truth? And like, I was like, oh my God, like it wasn't even what he said. It wasn't even how he said it. It was just the vibrations that he was emitting that was so just possessive, man, that made me stay. And I fought through it, and I stayed for the 10 days. And I am grateful that I did. I stayed for the 10 days and I left feeling like I was on top of the world, So
how long after did that feeling last? Because I've been to things like NA conventions or whatever, and you kind of ride that wave for a few weeks after. How long did that stay with you?
A few months. So here's the thing: is once I left, they told me that if I wanted to continue reaping the benefits that I gained at the retreat, I have to keep doing this meditation for 2 hours a day. Right? 1 hour in the morning, 1 at night. Now, I know sitting here for us thinking sitting in silence for 1 hour, that's a long time. But when you're doing it for 10 hours a day, you're thinking like, oh, dude, that's cake work. I can do that. And you start noticing the benefits from it, because you start noticing that even though you're taking 2 hours out of your day, you notice that you have more time in the day because you're more present, So To answer your question, the benefits lasted for a few months, but then, I'm a human being. I get
Yeah.
lazy, got
Drift
complacent,
off. Yeah.
drift off, stopped doing the meditation, and I kind of started like coming down off that high that I was on. I was on that spiritual enlightenment high, and I started coming back to reality. And when I came back to reality, it was like a depression almost because I was so high for so long. And at that time, I learned a lot about meditation, but I didn't learn anything about the nature of addiction. I didn't learn anything about the drug problem that I had. And I started using again. I started using drugs again and stayed in that cycle for a few years until I got and stayed clean,
Well,
so.
before we move on, and thank you so much for sharing that, and then I want to talk about your journey with actually getting clean and all. But let me ask you this, bro, because like I said, I want to do this. I want to fucking do it. And there's probably people thinking, yeah, you need to do it, so you shut the fuck up for a few days. Believe me, I know I'm a fucking talker. But the thing is, to go for 10 fucking days, I just don't know if I could do 10 days right out of the gate. So much respect that you were able to do that. So I really like the idea of doing a 3-day one to try to get a feel for it. So, in case anybody's listening or watching or comes across this down the road, Shebang, is there some information we can provide on the show or maybe a link sometime in the chat of how people find out how to do this?
Yeah, so if you want to find the organization, it's called Dhamma, Dhamma. If you type in dhamma.org on Google, it'll take you to their main website and it'll show you where they're hosting all the retreats. It'll give you an overview of what the technique, because this is not just any meditation. There's a lot of different forms of meditations, right? And I know Glenn is aware of this as well. And this is a very powerful form of meditation. And it's very frightening because it's like doing spiritual surgery on your own mind. And when it's just like surgery, when you're doing surgery, it's painful, it's going to hurt to heal. So you're bringing a lot of gunk up from your subconscious and it's coming to the surface and you got to deal with this shit, and you learn how to get past it. But it's very frightening, but if somebody is going through any struggles or just feel like they're at a point in their life where they want something more, they know that there's more to experience, check it out. Check it out.
Well, you know what? I can't tell you how much I appreciate you talking about that, Shebang. A couple things I want to comment on, and then we'll transition is, there's that old saying around the program, an addict alone is in bad company. and kind of sort of what that means is once we get inside our own head, man, you got to be real careful. But you're not alone there. You're with other people. Like I said, or like you said, you got the guy leading the whole thing there. I had asked you what they did about food and did they have like a regular dinner time at the retreat and that whole thing. And there was healthy dietary options too, right?
Yes. Everything was vegan, very clean, very bland, not overly spiced food. And I think the hardest part for me, and I know how you are too, Glenn, that would be difficult for people like us, is the sleep schedule they get you on, dude. Waking up at 4 a.m. with a gong to your ear and then lights out by 9, so they would give us.
I think you adapt after a couple of days.
Yeah, after a couple of days.
Because you're so fucking exhausted that you end up falling asleep early. Yeah.
And then after a couple of days, like you start waking up just energized from the meditation, you just wake up feeling amazing, Yeah.
So. Well, you know what? I also wanted to comment on how you said it's frightening because you know what, Shebang? That is that hits home with me because when you think about it in today's society, man, we are just bombarded with information. I mean, even just talking about like social media, the content out there, all the platforms, the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, the TikTok, the this, the that, the other, and all this stuff. And it's just, and so we're distracted. TV, movies, whatever, music, it's all distraction. And to sit in your own mind for that many days of silence, meditating, like you said, all that stuff of your life, how can it not come up that you reflect on it and start to think about how has this molded and shaped you into the person you are and affected you and all that stuff? So to me, not only frightening a little bit, but just powerful, man. And like, I want to experience that, bro. I want to do it. And so I appreciate you talking about your experience with that. And like I said, for me, man, I'm going to start with the 3-day one, and then we'll see where we go from there. And I'm going to do it, man. And it's something that we'll be able to talk about on this program with my experience with it. So if we may, Shebang, like to transition into, you talked a little bit about it that, after that experience, you continued to use for a while until you did eventually get clean. And your journey with that whole thing, I know your story is fascinating to me. And that's part of the reason I was hoping you would talk about it a little bit on the show. Because I know, you went to the extreme of actually leaving the country and all, So if you would, and share with us, I'm sure our viewers and listeners would love to hear more about what you did that worked for you.
Yes, definitely. So I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible because I don't want to, like you say, I don't want to hijack the full show, but, I'll go in a little bit of history.
Yeah,
so
hear your story.
After I left that retreat, in the next 3-4 year span, I would say I was in and out of treatment about 7 times. I would go to treatment, I would get clean for 3 months, 6 months was the most I can get to. And by that time, I've already made up my mind to go back out and I would relapse, and it got to a point where, I left the country more than once to get to treatment. Glenn and I are big people that have used NA as a tool in our recovery. And they always talk about, you can't just run away from your addiction. You can't just move and it's going to go away, because a lot of people try to do that. But it's like they say, you take yourself with you, right? Everywhere you go. So I went to India first, and, I went to treatment. I stayed there for about 4 months, and I did gain a lot of wisdom and a lot of clarity on, what was going on with me and how to get better. But I didn't have that deep inner shift, because at the end of the day, man, everybody looks at addiction differently, right? Everybody has their own perspectives on, is it a disease? Is it not a disease? Is it a psychological, like, what is going on, right? And in my experience, it's a spiritual illness that manifests itself in physical, mental, emotional, financial symptoms, right? For me, that's how I look at it for my journey. So, I went to Mexico the last time around. I went to treatment, and I've been clean since, and I feel like me going to the center in Mexico was like a higher calling, like it wasn't my own doing. And I've always been a person that's had a very open spiritual belief system. Like Glenn was saying, like, I believe a lot in the energies and the universe and all that kind of stuff. But me going to this center was not my own will. This is something greater than me that wanted me to get better, and it led me there. And the reason I tell you that is because the weeks leading up for me to go to this place, I kept having dreams about this treatment center. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. You guys are going to think either I'm lying or I'm fucking out of my mind.
That's
right?
why I wanted you to talk about it.
Yeah. So I kept having dreams. And in my dreams, the owner of that treatment center, healing facility, he likes to call it, he would come to me in my dreams and tell me that you're not going to beat this until you come to me. So it was something inside of me was like, I need to go. Like, I need to go get my life together. I need to go heal. In this treatment center, man, I ended up going, and it was unlike any other treatment center that I've gone to in my life, right? Because a lot of treatment centers in the West, and, God bless them, they work for a lot of people, but a lot of times it can be a revolving door for people, at least from my experience. They get you off of one drug, they get you on the Suboxone, they get you on this. Like, when I went into Mexico, I was on 12 different mental health medications, man. And I was a walking zombie, and I wasn't even using, right?
Yeah, we were trash cans. That's what I say. We were trash cans.
Yep. So I got there, and it was an experience, man. That treatment center, he took away anything that artificially makes you feel good. That's how I explain it. He didn't just take the drugs away. I had to taper very quickly, which was hell itself. It was the hardest experience. Even though I was in a luxury top hotel, 5-star facility, that was the hardest experience I've had in treatment, because he took away anything that artificially made me feel good, not just the drugs. He took away my sugar. He took away fried, greasy, terrible foods for my body. He had me on an organic, vegan, cleanse, juicing diet. He took away my phone. He took away TVs, no electronics, you know, so I was forced to sit with myself, you know, and the first month and a half, man, I lost my fucking mind, you know, pardon my language, but I lost my mind. I thought I was experiencing something called a detox shock, where your body is just detoxing from so many things at once so rapidly that you just go into shock, like you don't know how to react, you know. And I called my mom very many times saying, Mom, I'm leaving. I'm about to just live in Mexico. I'm about to start moving dope here. And like, I'm living this lifestyle. Like, I can't stay here. And something,
ready to bail.
you know, ready to bail, man. And something kept me there. And I'm glad I stayed. And a big part of the treatment that, you know, is not the most socially accepted, but I feel like people are starting to open up to it because people are starting to learn the research and the science behind it. But the main part of the treatment was I did multiple psychedelic healing ceremonies, you know, and this is, and this isn't like, for people that might have a history with drugs, they might be thinking like, oh, like, man, I used to take that shit all the time, going to raves and concerts. No, this was not that, man. This was, they had a shaman. They cleaned my body for 2 months out of all the poison, the drugs, the dirty food, the dirty media, the music. And they got me in a state of mind where I was very pure as possible. And then they did these psychedelic healing ceremonies.
And different types of dosing, too. Like, I know you and I didn't mean to interrupt you, bro, but we've had conversations about things that it's kind of a popular thing. Like, a lot of people micro-dosing with psychedelics. And I'm not saying you were, you know, I don't know what dose they had you on or whatever, but, you know, more and more research is being done all the time on that kind of stuff. And it's just fascinating to me, some of the benefits that, you know, they claim that it can provide for some people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely saved my life. You know, it gave me what I needed in order to come home and make the changes that I needed to make, you know. And one thing that I remember clearly that will never leave my mind, I remember I was in my room and I was going crazy and I was crying, I was kicking, I was screaming, you know. For people that are going through withdrawals, man, like Glenn has shared before, man, if you're going through hell, keep fucking going, man. That shit does eventually pass. You know, it might seem like you're going to be in that stage for the rest of your life and you're permanently fucked up. You know, most cases, you're going to get out of that shit. You know, there might be a little bit of residual, you know, damage that you've done, but you can make up for it, you know. But anyways, the thing that Johnny told me, which was, you know, he was the guy that ran the treatment center. And I remember telling him one night, and I was like, dude, this is not fair. This is psychological torture. You took away my food. You took away my phone. You took away my drugs. You took away my medicine. You took away everything. You took away everything that makes me feel good. And I remember him just looking at me calmly and him saying, he's like, Shivang, I'm going to teach you how to be happy in a dark room with nothing but your own thoughts. And if you can be happy with only that, once you go out there in the world, you'll always be happy. You know, and that has never left my mind because, like, I'm not a perfect human being, man. I have bad days. I go through periods of depression. I go through periods. Right. You know, I go through days, weeks, months of feeling low. You know, I was feeling low the other day and I called Glenn and he got me out of it, you know. But after that experience and doing some of the step work that I did in the future after that, I know deep down in my heart that no matter what, I'm going to be okay. And it took a lot to get to that level of surrender. You know, and kind of like G Money was saying, you know, it's getting clean. It's like he was saying with the weight, right? Like people can put down 15 pounds, but can they stay down 15 pounds? It's like that for me and getting clean, man. You know, getting clean, anybody can go get clean, man. Go to detox. They'll get you off the drugs, but it's what are you going to do to stay off clean? The shit? Yeah. And for me, man, I had to come home and I had to change everything, you know, and I did, you know, and it worked out, you know.
And bro,
so.
you are such an inspiration to me, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story, because to me, like I've said, Shvang, it's fascinating, man, and it just goes to show, you know, like you, and I appreciate what you said at the beginning, you know, just like I say on this show all the time, do you. Ain't trying to tell nobody what to do, ain't trying to tell nobody what not to do. All I can do is share, as we say in the program, my experience, strength, and hope, and whatever the fuck you did there, obviously it worked, because look at you now.
Right.
You know, you're living life, you're happy,
Right.
joyous, and free most of the time. You're living clean, you're being an inspiration to and helping others like me. So your story is awesome, bro. You know, it really is. And I like that you touched on, you know, how this shit is it's like a three-pronged sickness, you know, and you touched on, you know, whether it's a fucking disease or not, you know, that fucks with people as a disease, you know. I don't want to get any on me or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, whether you call it a disease or not, you know, our boy Brian, who, you know, he likes to break that word down and say, well, think of it as dis-ease, you know, you're not in ease, you're dis-ease. But for me, I like to say, if disease fucks with you, just call it a sickness. How the fuck can you deny that it's a sickness? You know, nobody wakes up one day and decides, you know what, I think I'm gonna become a drug addict and fuck my life all up and almost die from it, you know. But it does affect us physically, mentally, and spiritually. And so, you know, you talked about you got to work on that mental shit, man. And, you know, I touched on this on another program, and we'll go into it more when we have you back on again, you know, about the whole spiritual aspect of it. Because I know there are people out there who are totally misinformed about like 12-step programs, think it's some kind of religious cult or some fucking shit like that. And religion ain't got nothing to do with it, man. You know, as you know, it can be a pathway for people to start to explore like spirituality, you know, like I've shared on this program, and you and I have had deep conversations about spirituality, how I choose to believe in some great creator entity, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know, I don't understand it, and I don't believe anybody does, you know, but I say that I choose to believe there's some creator out there that, you know, wants the best for us, you know, and we'll get into that more on another program. But, you know, I wanted to touch on this because, yeah, I ain't gonna mention no names, bro, but we traded some photos the last couple of days and talking about physical health. And I don't mean this in an evil way toward anybody, do you? But you made me laugh when you said, yeah, bro, there's some people, they come in the program, they get clean, and they put down the spoon and pick up the fork. You know, and that's what happened to me when I put on that 50 pounds, you know. And, you know, hey, again, that's not a shot at anybody who carries around some extra pounds, whatever, do you, you know. It's just for me, I wanted to work on my physical health, and I know that's important to you too, and that you work out on a regular basis too. But anyway, Shebang, thank you so much for being on the show, bro. And we got to give a little plug to your music. Dean, I don't know if you have it, but I did email you before the show a picture of Shebang's CD, and I would love it if you could bring that up because the artwork on it is sick as hell. There it is, yeah. So Shebang, I know, you know, you got to have minimum orders to make it even worth doing, but you had talked about possibly doing some merch for this design, and bro, if you do, I'll definitely fucking buy a shirt, man. And for anybody else watching, you know, go check him out. It's Neila. Well, I don't want to speak for you, Shebang. Tell people how they can find your CD on YouTube and whatnot.
You go on Apple Music, you go on Spotify, look me up, Neila, Neila.
Which is alien spelled backwards, by the way.
Yep. So
I was trying to explain that to Benny when I saw her down in Hollywood. She got it.
Right. Yeah, so if you look me up on SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify, there might be a couple other Neila pages, but the picture that Dean just pulled up, that's my account.
That's yours. And you know what? I mean to interject a little tip. If you put Neila-topic it'll bring I don't know where the word topic came from, but I just noticed it, and it'll bring this up. If you go on YouTube, that's where I pulled this off of YouTube, because I listened for free. If you go on
And like Glenn sometimes says, when he opens the show, that disclaimer that if verbs about drugs or words about drugs trigger you in any way, then be careful tuning in. I'll just let you know, man, my music, it's pretty explicit. It talks a lot about the lifestyle. It talks about the drugs, and it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. But you know what? Your CD, bro, it tells a story. And if you remember when I was actually in the studio with you when you laid some of that stuff down. And when you're in the studio with someone all day, every day over the summer, or whatever, it's like in one ear, out the other. Oh yeah, Shebang's doing another song, whatever. No disrespect, bro. But then when you put it all together and mastered it and had this compilation and put the CD out, I played it from front to back at the gym one night when I was working out, and fucking mind was blown, man. And it was like, you told me you didn't plan it this way, but it almost like tells a story if you listen to every tune in a row from front to back, man. I just can't say enough about it, bro. You are so talented.
Thank you,
I don't
man.
even think you realize how talented you
Appreciate
are,
that, man. I feel like one of my goals, and I've spoken about it before, like with music, is come on, man. Anybody would be happy if they get a bunch of notoriety and get some fame and get some money, right? But at the end of the day, like my music, I make it for people that feel like they have no purpose on this planet, that feel like lost souls that might be going through some mental health crisis, addiction crisis, relationship crisis. I've been a person in my life for so long where I didn't know why I was put on this planet for, and today, thankfully to my higher power, my friends in the process, my family, I have a better understanding of why I'm here, so I like to make my music for the people that feel like they don't have a purpose,
and it is powerful, man. And I'm glad you said it that way. In fact, I've talked Shebang on this program and other things about that Future of Artists Music Summit we went to with Kasky and Anonymous and Victor Sounds and Tasty and all them guys. And if you remember at one of the seminars, if you want to call it that, they asked, are you in this game for fame and fortune, or are you in it, for the passion, and that was what they drilled home with everyone. If you're in it for fame and fortune, you're in it for the wrong fucking reasons, man. You got to have a passion for it. And then I like what you said too. It ain't for everybody. Just like this podcast. Yeah. There's some people going to watch this like, what the fuck is that? But then...
Well, it's like they say, because like, I'm not for everybody,
saying,
right?
Oh my God, you're such an inspiration. Your hope. So, it's the same with your music, bro. It ain't for everybody, but I happen to be one of them people that love it, man. And you rock, bro. So.
And it's like, kind of like to, make it all resolve together with the whole topic of this podcast. Like you were saying the G earlier, man, like once you get clean, if your mind stays empty and you don't fill it with something positive, you're in trouble, man. And music, is one of the things that has helped me in my recovery to stay clean. It's one of the things that gives me that sense of chaos, that dopamine release, that high that I used to get. So I'm grateful for it.
And me too, bro. And that kind of does bring us all the way back around. And we'll get G and Dean back on here in a second. But yeah, man, that's why I said I'm so grateful to you and your brother Shu. We got to get him on the show sometime, man. Talk about his group,
He's in your hood right now. He's in LA.
Yeah, I love their music, man. I just love their stuff, Rare Hearted is the name of their group, y'all. By all means, look them up on YouTube or Apple Music or whatever. Rare Hearted. You want some get down Detroit City, fresh off the streets music. And they're just young guys. What are they, like 20? And it just fucking blows my mind how talented they are, man, So, but the point I'm making is that exactly what you just said, Shebang. And one of the reasons I'm so grateful to you and your brother for, like I said, kind of taking me under your wing, teaching me music production, auto-tune. You guys were instrumental in helping me build this studio setup and my, whole system here, man.
And man, let me just say, man, to interject you, man, it's crazy how, like, Glenn was talking about how I commented on this song. I'm like, that was beautiful. If you guys would have seen the journey where when I was giving Glenn tutorials, he wouldn't even know where the record button is. He's like, how do I press record? How do I open up Logic? And now he's mixing his own song.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
I know. Me and Dean, we've been working together for what, fucking 30 years. So Dean knows exactly what you're talking about, Shebang. But well, anyways, yes, you know, I want to say this. I was thinking about this. You know, some people watching may think it's odd that we had both G and Shebang on the same show, because clearly we could have spent, you know, one whole show just talking to G, another whole show talking to Shebang. Part of the reason it did it this way is we were going to have G on last week, but we were having technical difficulties. So we wanted to get him on this week, and then we already kind of had Shebang scheduled for this week. And then I just thought to myself, hey, man, there's two things we haven't really addressed on this show yet that are part of our acronym, and that was enlightenment and exercise. And we talked about both of them today. And props to you, Dean, because to the best of my knowledge, we haven't had any technical difficulties, and to be bringing people in from all over the country with no problems is awesome.
Let me interject, because you asked for it a couple of times, and I gotta tell you, I've been 7 ways to Sunday to try and get this thing together, and here it is.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez, before and after picture.
Yes.
Well,
those are pretty dramatic differences, but yeah, I was going to touch on this in the when I was on. That's definitely not sustainable. That was me at the time. I just wanted to see how lean I could actually get, and that was it. But that's a very low body percentage. Definitely
looking
not
at the
healthy.
guy on the left. The guy on the left had a few beers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every day.
You know what's funny about the one on the left, though, is actually I gained that weight on purpose.
I remember
trying
that
to
whole
dabble
trial and
in
error thing,
something called bulking, where I was trying to just eat as much as I could, thinking I was gonna build muscle, when really I just gained a bunch of fat. So that was actually on purpose on the left, sad to say. And then I was just not happy with what I saw in the mirror, and then I just thought, let me see how lean I can actually get. And
your face changed. Look at how different
there was
your
another one, Dean.
changed.
I don't know if you got it or not, but this one definitely shows the transformation. But I actually sent a couple of them.
Yeah,
but,
I know. All right,
you know,
I'm gonna try and find it real quick, but I gotta jump out and
okay, yeah, there it is.
before
right
and
there.
after, pick 1 or 2. I think there it is.
Yeah, look at that.
All
And
right.
Again,
that
yeah.
is the one. Gee, I don't mean to hijack the conversation, but this is the one that blows my mind, because you could be a fucking model here. I mean, literally. And so you and I talked briefly earlier when we were talking about a goal that I'm working toward right now. I'm 61 years old, and I have fucking abs again. Blows my mind.
Yeah, that's
and,
incredible.
you know, for G and Shebang, we all looked at them pictures I was talking about earlier this week where, you know, we were just saying, man, some people put down the spoon and pick up the fork, and I just don't want to fucking be that big again. And so I have these abs.
Hey, Dean, go back to that picture if you don't mind.
Okay.
I wanted
Hang
to.
on.
Sorry to cut you
Hang
off
on.
there. I just wanted to say with that picture up there, the reason those transformation pictures I wanted to share was just to show that the one on the left there, that's a normal body fat percentage.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a normal weight, and on the right, people wouldn't think that's actually a 15-pound difference. I'm actually 15 pounds lighter on the right. That's not sustainable. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to be that low in a body fat percentage unless you're like a competitor looking to step on stage.
Right.
You know, the left is definitely more healthier, but I wanted to show that some people, they have this goal like, I want to lose 10 pounds when really they actually have to lose 20, or I want to lose 15 when really they have to lose 30, because you wouldn't think that's 15 pounds between those two photos. But I would definitely not recommend. Again, it's a lot of discipline, a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work. But on the right, that's not a healthy body fat percentage. But
it still looks fucking awesome.
I wanted to challenge myself again in this picture, because I'm definitely not that lean right now, just to see, okay, how far I could take it. And that's pretty much the extent of how far I was able to take it. But again,
so I'm curious, G. Sorry to interject, but I'm curious.
No.
So when you got to that low amount of body fat, did you change your workout routine or only your diet?
No, that's a good question. I kept my workout routine the same. Really, what it was tracking macronutrients, and this isn't something I would recommend for the average person that's looking to just get in shape. Really, just for a competitor, is learning how to read a food label properly, getting a food scale. And I had to be so meticulous with everything I was consuming. I wasn't starving myself, but I changed my diet a lot by tracking everything I was eating. And if I hit a sticking point where I wasn't losing weight, then I knew exactly what I needed to do to to break past that sticking point, and I would just lower my calories because I knew exactly what I was putting in my body. So
Well, hey, G, I got to chime in. Our friend Kelly, she's in the chat, and she wrote
Oh
in all
no.
caps, damn. So, hey, he's
Thanks.
married, Kelly. He's got a wife. He's, you know. But anyway, so,
But no, that's yeah, no, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and anyone can achieve getting that low. Again, it's just not sustainable. And it all comes into, again, we'll talk more about on other episodes when we have more time about,
yep.
one thing I wanted to say too was I brought out this bag of almonds here. Some people, a lot of people, including myself, when I was getting into fitness, like you say, eat healthy, and a lot of people think almonds are healthy, and they are. But this bag right here, if you're watching a movie, you can consume this whole bag, right? And on the food label, it says 170 calories, but a lot of people, what they don't realize, and I had to learn this myself, when you're looking at a food label, it says 16 servings per container. So
Yeah.
this
Gotta
is
get you.
170 calories, but you got to times that by 16.
16.
And that's
Yeah.
like almost 3,000 calories. You just get from, this lightly salted, you eat them like chips, and you think, oh, I'm eating healthy, they're almonds, but you're going over your calories so high.
Yep.
And you can do
Those
that
are
with
some
like
fucking
peanut butter. And
almonds.
so you might
Yeah.
think, okay, I'm eating healthy foods, but yet you're overeating because of the calorie intake. So I think just learning basically how to read a food label properly, seeing how many servings are actually in what you're eating, is a big step, because that's something I wasn't doing, and I was getting frustrated. Like, I'm eating almonds, I'm eating the natural peanut, I'm eating healthy foods, but I was realizing I was eating too much of those healthy, because you can overeat
Yeah, you've
just from eating
turned
healthy
me,
foods.
you have definitely turned me into a label reader, G. And I'll tell you what, man, sometimes I'm in the grocery store and I feel like people are laughing at me if they're watching me out of the corner of their eye because I'll pick something up and go, ooh, that looks good. And I read the label and I'm like, fuck. And I toss it back down because I'm like, I
Yeah,
can't eat that, you know.
yeah,
I work too hard in the gym to fuck it
yeah.
up over some
No,
stupid
it
ass
definitely.
snack,
Once
you
you
know.
once you realize what exactly you've been putting in your body and like reading the
Yeah.
labels, it can be a
Yep.
uh, but again, too, the approach I take too is now as a lifestyle. It's about balance, and unless you're looking to get on stage or be a competitor, be like an athlete where you have to get in that kind of shape, you don't need to track all your calories, everything you're consuming, weighing out your food. There's approaches that I would love to talk about in future episodes on how you can just be in good shape, but also not letting it revolve around your life, where fitness is revolving around your life, where because we all work 8-10 hours a day, where we might have kids, be married, so much other priorities that are higher than fitness, but you can still learn to not let your life revolve around fitness, but just having that as a staple and a lifestyle approach to where you can have that balance, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
Well, hey, I got to interject because I started to say, and I do want to mention this because I'm gonna do this on the show. As you know, Glenn, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. I have this goal I've been working toward for a long time. And I was so depressed the other day because I put on a lot of weight. Well, not a lot, but I gained fucking 10 pounds back, you
Hmm.
know. And me and G were talking, and I was talking to him, and I was so bummed about it. I started to get filled up. And if you remember, G, you were like, Dad, man, is everything okay? And I'm just like, no, man, I'm just fucking bummed. I've worked so hard on getting to where I'm at,
Hmm.
and I just kind of let go for a few weeks. And next thing you know, I'm fucking I was eating McDoubles again and shit, and I'm like, now I've lost all that back, and I'm not on no yo-yo diet. I'm not doing unhealthy up and down, and I'm really not. I'm eating healthy, and I lost that back.
Yep.
Where I'm going with this, though, is I've worked so fucking hard to get these abs. It just blows my mind that at my age, I have fucking abs like I had when I was on the wrestling team as a teenager, but I don't have that definition in the picture we just showed to you. And I want to fucking get there. And like you said, I'm so glad you said it's not sustainable and it's actually not healthy. I just want to get there, get my picture, as egotistical and vain as that might sound, and then say, all right, now I'm having fucking, let's go to Olive Garden. I'm loading down on the carbs. So G's been trying to coach me and help me get there, and right now I'm about 10 pounds away from where I need to get that kind of a picture.
Yeah. Well, I would
and
say
then after that, I just want to eat healthy on a regular basis,
Right. I would say, yeah, I know it's, we've been on for a while, just to respect everyone's time, because there's so much I could get into regarding that. So let's save that for another episode, because I'd love to touch on that topic and have a back and forth about, exactly what it is, you've gone through in your goals and what you did to get to where you're at. So we can dive into that. It'll be.
Yes, exactly. And Glenn, I can't thank you enough, kiddo, for getting me to where I'm at and coaching me to get to the goal I want to get to. And then, like I said, I'll hopefully be able to show that pic.
You're the man. It's inspiring. I'm inspired by it,
Well, hey, we inspire each other. And hey, I gotta take a moment to say hi to my friend Jody. I saw you just chimed in on the chat, Jody. And by the way, I'm so fucking behind on replying to everybody's DMs and comments and all. And I posted a pic. I was down at Santa Monica Beach, and I fucking did a pose like I was a warrior. And I saw you commented on that and posted a pic of your tat, Jody. And I'm just telling you, man, I don't know if you realize this, but when I think of that, yep, there it is. Oh, look at Dean, fast at the switch there. Yeah. I'll never forget you saying at the SWOE meeting, we're all fucking warriors. I think about stuff like that more than you probably realize. And to all my friends in the program, man, I pick up on them little golden nuggets. And Jody, I always remember you talking about how we're fucking warriors and how you're grateful when you're there that you're not dope sick, and I say that a lot at meetings, and I got to remember that, man. That's a good way to maybe wrap up the show. If I got nothing else to be grateful for on some days when things seem like they're going shitty, at least I ain't fucking dope sick today, because man, that ain't no fun. That is fucking miserable. And as was mentioned on this show earlier today, if I can get through that, I can get through fucking anything, because I'm a fucking warrior. And look at that. That's all a result of G coaching me, man. I got fucking muscles again, So anyway, with all that said, I want to thank you, Shebang, so much for being part of the show, coming to us live from Detroit, Michigan. G-Money coming to us live from Miami, Florida. Dean for handling all the behind-the-scenes stuff and keeping us on the air from Orlando, Florida. And, of course, here I am in Sacramento, California. We're going to try to keep going live every Sunday, y'all, 6 o'clock p.m. here on the West Coast, 9 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. We have so much cool and fun stuff lined up for this show. We got some really cool fucking guests coming up, too, man. I know I keep talking about it, but they're coming up, man. They're coming up. And, of course, we'll have Shebang and G back on the show again as well. So with all that said, hey, is anything you guys want to add before we wrap it up? Because, we've been going, man, almost a couple hours. This is a long show.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I appreciate y'all having me. I'll save my voice for the future because we've been on.
Yeah, I'm all set. Just wanted to say again that, it's inspiring. Everyone loves an underdog story, and not to be too cheesy, but the comeback's always greater than the setback, and you've definitely had one hell of a comeback. So
I appreciate
I'm just so proud of you, Dad. Love you.
Yeah.
I'm
love you
so
guys.
happy to be on.
All three of you. Love you guys so much, man. I love you, man.
Love y'all.
All right. Dean,
All right,
thanks
guys.
again, bro, and we'll talk real soon. Everybody have a great week. Peace.
Good night.